We are live at the Mikel Weisser Memorial here at Sohi, Arizona. A little windy, a little sunny, but everybody is gathering here as you can see. We are celebrating the life of Mikel Weisser, who passed away 2 Wednesdays ago. Suddenly, nobody expected it. He was actually supposed to do our podcast, Toki, today, the next day on Thursday. Got a text from him that morning. He was all excited, and that evening he got a text from his wife that he was no longer with us. And that is very unfortunate how quickly that Mikel has left this earth, because he was doing so much for legalization, so much for cannabis, and so much for us all. Look at how many people are here just to celebrate him that drove all the way out to Sohi, because Mikel drove out to us so many times out down in Phoenix. And it's so awesome that all these people came out to see him one last time out here in Sohi, Arizona. So we appreciate everybody showing up tonight, watching live from home. There'll be some good things being said about Mikel tonight. We now have audio up, so please tune in and share this live broadcast. We will be live all evening.
Dear God, we thank you for the life of Mikel Weisser, everything he was. We thank you for the friend that he was, the husband he was, the father he was, the leader he was, the inspirer he was, the dreamer, the passion that he lived for peace and justice and freedom. We thank you for all these gifts that he brought, that he was. And we ask you to bless his passing, because we're sure as hell not going to forgive him. Well, we will in time, but it just seems that there was so much more that he could have done if he'd stayed around a little bit longer, but that's only because of so much that he did, so much that he started and influenced and left behind. We just think he could have done so much more. But we thank you. We thank you, Lord, for all that he did, and we thank you for Mikel was so full of energy that nothing would slow him down, short of orders from the governor's office. So we thank you, Lord, for having the governor order Mikel home to spend the last month of his life with his wife. We thank you for that and all that he was. Amen. And now, very special person who knows Mikel probably better than any of us, Beth Weisser.
I'm so happy that you all could come. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm really happy that you all could come. This is the party he wanted that I wouldn't have. We had many parties, and so I'll tell you a little bit of that story. We got married here. He made that path so that I could come down, and we had our ceremony on all that carpet. His son Sam and he cleaned the yard and made this fire pit, and we had a fire that night after the ceremony. And so I felt like this was the thing to do for him. We weren't churchgoers or anything like that. You're all his family, and this is his church. As I've been saying to people, I shared him in life, I'll continue to share him. It's the right thing, and it helps me too. I'm hoping that we can have some poets that came to do some of his poetry. You're right. And some music. I know Peter doesn't think he sings very well, but he gets the point across, and his fingers do wonderful things on a guitar. And I would really like him to play whatever song he would like to play of Mikel's. If anybody remembers the chicken song, Happy, his Happy song. And then Jesus nor the Jailer. Maddie brought some words, some of the lyrics that are handwritten that we can all kind of sing along with it. Fox, you ready to do Manifest Destiny? This poem he was so proud of because it dealt with what horrible things our governments have done to people in the name of God. And this is his social justice type of statement. So I'd like Christopher Fox Graham from the Sedona Poetry Group to, I'm sorry, I don't know the formal name. He'd come to do his slams with them and got a chance to go on the road doing the slams, and he took it from there. He says, I like this so much. And then he said, okay, and you're running for office? I'm running for Congress. and on the road, and Perry spent the year, almost a whole year out on the road with, and you've probably seen the pictures, and I'm so glad he had such good people out with him taking care of him when I couldn't. But, okay, Fox?
So I knew Mikel for about 15 years. He was definitely a good friend of mine for about 11 of those, the last 11. Because I didn't really know him other than he was a poet in Kingman who did events out here. And so I would cross-pollinate by promoting his events out here in Kingman, in Flagstaff and Sedona. And then I finally met him, I think maybe 12 or 13 years ago, and then I finally got to hang out with him a lot more often about 11 years ago. And he would just sometimes show up to Slam in Sedona, sometimes show up periodically to Slam in Flagstaff. Sometimes he would just call me up and say, hey, I'm coming through northern Arizona. I don't want to drive all the way to Kingman, or I don't want to drive all the way to Phoenix, or I don't want to drive all the way to to Holbrook or across the state. Can I just crash at your couch? He probably stayed at my couch 4 times in the last year. He stayed back in March, day before my birthday. He showed up at the house. We drank some mixed drinks, and he crashed out on the couch. And the next morning was my birthday, and my wife made pancakes, and he played with my daughter for a little bit. And then he found out it was my birthday, and said, congratulations for being as old as you are. And then he left and went to Flagstaff to get more signatures, and I went on to work, and that was the last time I saw him. He was actually the last house guest we had at our house before all of this happened. So, but yeah, he loved to perform this poem, and so I will do it in as best his style as I can. Manifest destiny. Repeat after me, children. Manifest destiny. Say it again. Manifest destiny. First, to break it down into its component parts. Manifest, noun, adjective, verb. Manifest means laid out plainly for all to see. Want to see what's going on? On a ship, you look in the big old book where they keep all the records. It's called the manifest. Also, when people believe in magic or religion and they want something to happen and it does, they also call that manifest. As in, praise the Lord, just when I thought I was going to starve, Sheila manifested this here dead possum. So now we's eating good. Manifest. Destiny. Noun. Destiny means what is supposed to happen in your life. The road ahead, your fate. Again, people who believe in magic or religion, for they are the same thing, and the concept of destiny is very much a matter of religion or magic. To these folk, destiny is like God. Set up 100 hurdles for you to fall or fly over, a string of dominoes laid out to your infinity, waiting for you to stumble through the gate, to tumble the pegs in their preset directions, all worked out before you even get there. See, you're not really to blame for how you live or the good or bad that happens. Such issues were not really in your power at all. It's all God's will. No, don't question it. It's God's will. Got it? Got it? Good. Manifest plus destiny, manifest destiny. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Now here's what it really means. You ready? Once upon a time, this land where we're now standing was a deers and antelopes, a mammoths. You know, they hugged, they played, and not wanting to toss out a discouraging word here or there. But you know, some men eventually came around, and those men, red men, long, long ago men, believed the animals were here for the taking. They believed it was part of God's will. Their destiny was to live, and the destiny of the animals was to die. And God manifested this or that, or he did or did not, and they lived that way for 10,000 years, till some newer men came, chasing gold, or were willing to be, and they were willing to be a whole lot more gory. And they came and brought their whole vengeful God with them, and they came to manifest some gold or some glory, and it came all in the name of God. And then some men who followed them were ready to kill anybody for their God, and kill they did. It was their destiny. It was manifest. It was plain to see. The land was there for the taking. And to reassure themselves, the dying were its suffering and were of no consequence, in 1845 they even coined a phrase for it. Manifest destiny. They codified it. They defanged it. It wasn't even killing anymore. Just manifest destiny. And then they threw a war. So what is manifest destiny? Well, say it with me, children. Here comes the definition. Manifest destiny. Manifest destiny. Manifest destiny is the belief that God intended for the United States to stretch from sea to shining sea. If there was an Indian in the way, kill him. If there was a country in the way, go to war. You know what happened with Mexico, right? You know that all of this used to be Mexico. We took half the country. Half. Just took it. Thousands dead, left in the cactus, carnage from coast to coast. The red land of the white man between the two seas of blue. Manifest destiny, American as the flag. Not our fault. Couldn't be helped. Had to be done. Manifest destiny. Wasn't really murder. Wasn't really stealing. Just manifest destiny. No way around it. God's will. Manifest destiny. Tough break, Indian. Shouldn't have been in the way, Mexico. Nothing personal. Just taking care of business. We got God's work to do. From sea to shining sea.
Hello, everybody. So glad to see everyone here. You all look like Michael's friends. That makes me happy.
I wondered it.
He accepts those too, for sure. No, we've known Michael since the beginning of time, practically. I met my husband, gray-haired guy over there. There he is. And 9 months later, my very best friend on earth met the man of her life, and that was Mikel Weisser. And she would come back and tell us, I don't know where you are, Sam, of this man she met, and they would skip class and go in the cornfields, and he'd read her poetry. South Texas orange groves, not cornfields. I'm from Illinois. Yep. And that was the beginning. And so she met Michael 9 months later. We had a baby about the time she met Michael. 9 months later came Sam. So we have babies 9 months apart. And so we knew them from the very beginning when he was just a boy, and saw him periodically through the years. We moved away, we bounced around, and in the end, they came to Bullhead City to live near our family. And we adore Sam and his family as well. And, you know, at some point, Lisa passed, and it was very tragic. And he went on a soul-searching journey. He went to Burning Man, came back half naked and barefoot in dirt street and pouch full of food. But he never discriminated against anyone. He would take anyone into his circle. He never met a person, a child, or anyone who he did not speak some sort of prophetic beauty to. Like, he has touched everybody he's ever met, I swear. And when he met Beth, his world brightened tremendously. He'd been through hell and back, and Beth was such a bright spot in his life. Every time he would come, every conversation, every paragraph held Beth, And the times she came were beautiful, and the times she didn't, we said, say hi to Beth, we miss you, we love you. He came just a few weeks ago during COVID, sang us the song, what is it, Pa? Yeah, Jesus or the Jailer. Sang that to us, and my phone was in the house like, shoot, I don't want to go get it. I'm just going to listen. I'll catch it next time. He had his petitions out. All of my age children that were 21 and over signed it on that day. Sat around and chatted, had a conversation. Joseph asked him a question, and he was on a very tight schedule, his own personal schedule. Always. If any of you know him, like, he's on the ball. Like, he made his own schedule, and he was busy 24/7 every day of the week. But he had to go somewhere. He said, okay, Joseph, we're going to talk about that next time. So I just appreciate that you all came and that you all were affected by him, and he will live on. He's a legend in Arizona. He's a legend to the people who know him, and his spirit will live on. Like, you will feel it. You will be in places, you'll be smoking a joint, and there's Michael. You'll be somewhere, and you'll like, what do I say, or what do I do, or I'm in this corner. Oh, Michael. What would Michael do? What would Michael say? Yeah, he's got an answer for everything, and it's always kind and gentle and beautiful and all-encompassing. Like, he will never leave anyone out. So I just embrace you all. I love you. I'm so glad you're here. And whether I talk to you tonight or not, I just really appreciate you all. Thank you so much, Beth. Love you.
This is a song Michael wrote called Walking a Rainbow. Walking the Rainbow. All right, thank you. Now, Michael's sister Erin would like to say a few words.
So it has been so amazing to see all of the memories that have come out over the last week and a half. Michael was a force of nature, and to see all the places that he has touched has been phenomenal. To see the students whose lives he changed, the passion he had for the Arizona Dems and leading change, the passion he had for the progressive movement, the passion he brought to the fight for legalization. Every time I think of my big brother, he was like a whirlwind. There you go, kiddo. He was like a tumult. He was bigger than life. He would show up in my world like a drive-by, and everything would be wild for a while. And then it would fall back, and you would have to rest. He was the first boy who wrote me a poem for my little sister on her 8th birthday. He was the first boy I rode around at night with and realized, like, maybe an 8-year-old shouldn't be hanging out with an 18-year-old. Probably a bad choice. He was a crazy water horse that swept clean the world that I was in periodic waves. And as I thought about the best way to remember my big brother, I wanted to work in the medium that he loved best. And so I wrote this for him about the great water horse and the seat of emotion in our own brains. Hippocampus. You rode at the front of the wave, such froth and power, a tumult. It crossed revetments and breakwaters and cleared paths for transformation. Standing, you were a lighthouse that beckoned and served, upright and incandescent. Beware these rocks, and these rocks, and these as well. Great water horse, you have washed clean the strand and carried forward the cargo and fallen back. Still. Thank you for being here today and for honoring his memory. It's so good to see you and feel your energy. Thank you.
I'd like y'all to meet his son, Sam.
Wow. Obviously, I've known Michael for a while. You know, when my mom, she wanted to have a baby. She always wanted to be a mom. And she met my dad, and they conceived, but she didn't tell him right away. He didn't know about it. And he found out a few months later, and he came back to see my mom on my first birthday. And he had been in my life ever since. And the thing that I really want to say about him is something that you all probably know. He was a hard worker. And he was a smart guy, talented guy, but he learned that that's not enough. It's not enough just to be talented. You have to do the work if you want results. And that's what he did when he came into my life. He supported our family. He was an electrician, a plumber, a ditch digger, a carpenter, a house painter. There was a there was a winter. It was, I believe, one of the coldest modern winters in Illinois, where we happened to be without a central heating system in the house. So he wasn't going to let us freeze. So what he did, he constructed a wood stove in our living room. He laid brick, he constructed the wood stove, he constructed the ventilation system, he turned the garage into a wood chopping area. We chopped wood that year, and we stayed warm that winter. He went on to go back to college. He knew that he had to get some credentials if he was going to do better than that. So he worked as a carny, and he worked as a homeless shelter coordinator, and he educated himself, and then he became a teacher, and then he moved out here. I'm still in Illinois. He moved out here, and he put his work into teaching, and then he put it into politics, and he put it into community organizing. And that same level of work that he was doing for our family, when he turned it on the community, I can see that it reflects very well on him. A lot of people have said that he made a huge difference in their life, and I always knew that he made a difference in mine. But to see what he was able to do and the community that he was able to organize, it's very impressive. So I want to say thank you all for showing your gratitude and helping me understand what great work he was able to do out here.
Frank, ready? We have another poet who wrote a song, and this is his time at the mic. He wanted to share his song with all of us.
Thank you. I'm not sure how this is going to work with the sound. I just wanted to say a few things first, and then I have never written a song before in my life, and found myself compelled to write the morning that I learned of Mikel's passing. So for as out of my comfort zone as it might be, I felt like I probably should bring the piece that came out and share it with Mikel's community, because I do feel like it, to me, has a lot to do with him. And what I reflected on, can you guys hear me okay? What I reflected on while I was writing it was just the energy of that very special person that we're all remembering here today. And what I like to say about people, very few people that I've met like him, is I hope to be as much myself as he was himself. He was so embracing of who he really was that it would take you aback when you first met him. Like, you didn't quite know what to do with that energy or what this guy was about or anything until you got to really see. And for me, that moment clicked when, after Ryan Brown and I did a show here in Kingman that Mikel had invited us to do, a poetry show. We came back here to his house, and he walked me through the Sohai theme park. And I realized that all of that energy that I couldn't quite comprehend was just pure being. It was just him bringing some really beautiful energy into the world through him. And he opened that channel a lot. And that, I think, is what we're here to do. So it's kind of what the song is about. So hopefully you'll be able to hear a little bit of it. I'll probably, because I passed some of the lyrics around. If you don't hear the guitar, that's probably for the best anyway. So. Oh, it's not that life gets in the way, something I'd expect my mind to say, like a desert that hides a theme park ride. Heartbeat moments are so low and then so high. Something I would expect my mind to say, would I have made a difference anyway? I am small, don't have much to say. The world might test you that this other way. Lace up your shoes and meet it every day. You know it needs you right here, right this way. No, it's not that life gets in the way, like the word we're spreading every day. We are stories we're told and untold and unfold into selves that we're getting to know. Spinning strings on a pattern that's wove into joy, into pain, into struggle and love. Eyes that search for what's here and above. And the truth is I knew you in passing, a moment, a lifetime, a spinning, a crashing, a single evening's worth of twinkle and flashing. Something I can hope my mind can hear, loosen fingers on what you're holding dear. Something I would hope my mind can know, and hold no fear of the place we'll go. Thank you.
I don't know what the poem is, but thank you for doing one.
Poetry is. So, poetry is.
Oh, wonderful. Josh was also somebody that was just a wonderful poet that Michael cared a lot.
I cared a lot about Michael myself. I met him about 10 years ago in Flagstaff through the poetry slam there. He was just such a vibrant character, so full of love. He, the first time I met him had his chapbooks, which is an amazing collection of chapbooks just laid out in the front of a stage that anyone could come up and choose to do somebody else's work at a cover slam, which is an unusual poetry slam. So it's the first place I met Michael. This is actually the first chapbook that he ever gave me. It's the first chapbook anyone ever gave me. It was actually signed by him 11/11/11, which to me and Michael being stoners like we are is a significant number, you know, numerology being what it is. But this poem is one of the first in the book, called Poetry Is. Poetry was once Dr. Seuss to me, and over the river and through the woods and all that sissy stuff that even girls didn't like. And I was way too cool for poetry, though not cool enough to be stood, even by myself. Poetry was the scribbles I made to keep from practicing my knots with ropes, something that I could look at when I couldn't stand the mirror, the company I kept when everyone else had dates, and the reason I lived to see 16 and 17 and 18. Poetry was the voice that kept me going, step by step, from sea to shining sea, and when the 500th car had flown past my thumb, and the snow lay all around me, and there was no way to live but by walking. And then, poetry was the hip stuff I spilled when I finally got to college, the seducer lines that smart girls fell for, the swell of my head, the delicious ennui, the reason it was cool to wear black. And later, poetry was Dr. Seuss once more, and protecting my babe from the wolf at the door, and the laughter of my son as we listened to the babble from my mouth that translated as the purest language of love. Poetry was the rhyming and the timing, the free verse for the frozen, and the reasonable reason to stay up late nights, and the most momentous message I could mention, the most hopeful form of hopelessness, and the light in the tunnel that glows because you told it to, and the closest thing to the truth our world of liars ever makes. Poetry is the light that leavens laughter, and the life inside the love I feel before you now. Thank you all for being here.
So, it's time for adopted daughters. Talia is going to talk first.
Hi, my name's Talia, Talia Fuentes Wolf, and it's really funny because I've had this song that just keeps popping up and it keeps playing in my head every time I think of him. And it's like these really simple lines that are like, cold pizza, tie-dyed shirts, give 'em here, I'll still love you. And for some reason, if you know Michael, that was him. That was just him in a nutshell. And we were standing here watching the sunset and listening to the song, and I just thought, I'm like, this is one of the few times during the day where we can look at the sun. And I feel like Michael was one of those people, the few times in life where you just see all the brightness. And what Beth said by the Not Daughters was, I was like adopted, sort of. He was like my second dad. And like all daughters, they have the really embarrassing song with their dad. And we made this video on YouTube, and it's like a little rap, and Michael is just throwing down about how he is a history teacher and the pot smoker and the activist, and this rap is so bad but so good at the same time, and I value that. And I'll never forget when he's like, Talia, can you please just give it to me? I know you won't put it online, but I'll save it. And now it's like I just want the whole world to know that I had those memories with him, because he was a magical person. He was unlike anyone I have ever met. And I met him through politics. We were congressional candidates together during 2016. And he changed my life. I would not be where I am without him. No, his spirit will carry on with me forever, and I know anyone that knows him will take that piece of him. And I just want to close with saying, and I told this to Beth, but it's really one of those things that gives me comfort. And the Egyptians believe that there's two deaths. There's the death when you die, and then there's the death when your name is last spoken on this earth. And I know that Michael, his name will be spoken for decades, because he has planted a seed in the garden that he may never see, but we are all here to help tend and make sure that it grows and it produces the best fucking weed that we could ever smoke. Thank you.
This is Maddie from Las Vegas, NORML.
So it was really great, actually, Talia, just to follow you, because you so eloquently put into words the way that I felt about Michael. And I'm blessed enough to say that I too was considered an adopted daughter by Michael, and what he meant to me, obviously, like the rest of you, it's very difficult for me to put into words. I'm not nearly as eloquent or as good of a writer, but I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, the path he put me on and the confidence he gave me, I can just never possibly forget. It's impossible. I met him in 2016, and I had asked him about starting a NORML chapter in Las Vegas, or asked him if there was an existing chapter, and he told me I was going to be the one to start it. And so I had this really great relationship with him for the last 4 years, in which I could call him and ask him anything, and it very quickly grew from just, marijuana activism stuff and organizational stuff to, wow, this guy, I can tell this guy my fears. I can tell this guy my vulnerabilities. I can tell you some of my vulnerabilities I've never shared with anybody else. And so initially my thoughts were just, who the hell am I going to call? Who? And then I realized so many of us are feeling that way. He was so many people's mentors. Talia, I think you called it a seed that he planted, but I feel like for me it was a ripple. I feel like the ripple effect that he had on me. And also, I gotta say, I was getting a lot of calls from the Las Vegas activist community, extending their condolences because they too saw what he did for me, for us, for our community in Las Vegas, for Nevada. Big deal, So to his family, Sam, everybody, I just really can stand here and say that he was one of the most important people in my life, and I hope to honor him. I hope that we all can continue to remember him, but I hope more than anything we can just continue to bring the unity that he so desperately wanted everyone to have. And that was what he gave, the lesson that he really instilled in me. So, like Beth mentioned, I have a few copies of Jesus nor the Jailer. I think Peter can hopefully lead the guitar in this one. If you guys, I only have a few copies. If you guys can actually, on YouTube, on Michael's YouTube, is the song, and the lyrics are on there too. So if you don't get a copy, you can pull those up. But I think it would be really fun. The chorus is really easy. I think it would be fun to just sing along. I mean, I'm not much of a singer, but I would do this for Michael. So, yeah, maybe you guys will help.
No
right. Hi, I'm Cameron, or Cammy. I met Michael when I was a super awkward young adult. I grew up in Kingman, and I started doing poetry in high school, and I actually never interacted with Michael at that time. I got married young, moved to Prescott, and one day some friends said, hey, there's a guy from Kingman coming to perform at an art gallery in Prescott. I'd really like you to come and check it out. I think it'd be up your alley. So I came there, I watched him perform. He did a bunch of original songs and then played a bunch of just fun tunes. And then we just sat and we chatted. And what set with me the most was Michael talked to everybody as an equal, as a peer. Even as this awkward young kid, I felt like I should still be talked to like a kid, but he talked to me and he asked me about my life and always would invite me to come to the Kabam Slams and perform, and was very supportive, invited me to come to the high school and perform, and I never got a chance to do that, and I really regret it. But when I was reading through his poems, I really liked this little piece and I wanted to share it. More than by genius. More of the world is made by the clever than by the genius. By our sheer force of numbers and sheer desperation, sure, genius can tip its toe into the great sea and be safely sated. But the clever are built of half-wishes and crafted smiles, 12-hour work weekends and fantasies of cartoons, missed memorizing multiplication tables. Sure, genius can spill a world and trickle into a constellation, while we clever nose up against our current grindstone, hurrying along, lest we be figured out the fraud. Thank you.
So I asked the Clute, Bernard Schrober, if he would do this song. This is this poem. This poem, he had explained to me, embodied a lot of what he felt he was about. Sorry, I said song again, didn't I? But he wrote songs from his poetry. But this poem was embodying who he was, and if you listen to the last line, he burned it till it was out.
Sometimes I got it going like I'm throwing full throttle, hitting it harder than a wino hit his bottle. Sometimes I got it flying like no doubt, shouting out troubles we're all mumbling about. Like as 500,000 greed, 100 million need, while another billion bleed, full speed from their deeds. So I'm firing off the issues we all wish they could change, shooting off my bullets from this point-blank range, and my words be traveling like vocal javelins, poking at the vicious till their mind go unraveling. And I'll keep chopping on the chains that keep us trussed up tight, 'cause I was born to rhyme and I was built to fight. I'm a freedom fighter, 'cause I've seen the light, yeah, want to take it higher, and that's why I became a writer. And I never met a battle that I wouldn't take on, be strong, go long, get the throng to sing along. No, I never met a battle that make me turn away, sing my song of right and wrongs, I'll change the world someday. Though sometimes it overcomes me, stung me, numbs me to my tummy. Watch the wicked rule the world while we stand around like dummies. Sometimes it seems so hopeless, just pushers ruling dope heads. No hope for overthrowers, but I won't bow down because I know this, but I do really have to tell you what you really should have guessed, that none of us are free as long as some of us eat the oppressed. And if you wait for someone else to start it, then you'll never get it done. For as long as we've divided, we will never stand as one.
And while some may claim my aim is just the same lame stock of talk, to me each day's a step as I struggle on my walk. Yeah, sometimes I got it flying, like I'm trying, no doubt. Just handling my candle, and I'll burn it till it's out.
Thank you, Clute. That's exactly what he did. He burnt his candle until it was out. And he would keep re-burning it if it went. He didn't let that flame die. He didn't want to go out yet. But I think he actually did what he was here for. And he's with all of us now, and he's still doing his work. So something that Michael liked to do is make a wish in the fire. And I think the wind is low enough we can have a real low fire. If you have a piece of paper or any little piece of garbage that'll burn, you make a wish and throw it in the fire. We're going to go ahead and light that now. If people still want to come and talk, you may. I encourage any talks. It's very cathartic and good. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you did fantastic. That's exactly, because I could never hear all of his words when he would do it. I called him my vortex. Wherever he went, he was a vortex that sucked you right in. Okay. Thank you all so much. Big love and hugs. And continue, and this is the end of the show. Thanks.